In a back street in Leeds, the rehearsal studio of the Mekons. Mekons singles released so far, 1.
Now, how much did you make any money from the sale of the first single?
How much?
They all laugh. I want to know why. You say you're obviously very confident. They laugh.
It's such a minimal amount.
We don't exactly, we're not on the verge of retirement yet.
£40.
Yes. No, we made £100.
No, that's all, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Why bother making a record in the first place?
It's a key part of a career. It's one of the only ways we can get more money for gigs, and more people listening to us.
And I think kids want to actually go out to the shops and buy a product.
I don't think it's that. I think we like to make records, actually. You know,
it's nice to be able to sort of...
As a separate thing from playing on a stage.
Completely. Yeah. We're trying to make it a completely separate thing as well.
But I mean, are you therefore making them for your own satisfaction then? I mean,
I think a lot of the Mekons fans do want to go out and buy product.
Well, so, I don't think we should cope with that necessarily, surely. We're just perpetuating a lot of things that we're not necessarily in favour of by just making another product.
No, I don't see who we are to turn around and say we're not going to give you a single to buy.
Well, there is the problem though, which we are beginning to forget about as well. That perhaps we'd rather they spent their money buying guitars and amplifiers than records.
Well, I mean, what problems do you have then being based in Leeds rather than being based in London?
People want to see groups, but they'll only come and see them in London. Like if we ever wanted to approach a record company or a London agent or anything along those lines, it's a London gig. Tell me when you've got a London gig.
Ultimately, you start out on a small label and you have to go to a big one in order to make any real impact.
Well, you have to, in a certain sense, to borrow the money off of them to have enough money to go out and tour, to go out and hire the PA, to pay for the hotel. You know, and it's all borrowed money. I mean, if you don't do any good, you don't get no money. But if you're doing all right, I mean, if you're selling records, then you're paying back the money you borrowed in the first place. Yeah. Whereas on Step Forward, they could never have lent us £2,000 to go out and do a tour. Yeah. Whereas Polydor could lend us.
How's it going to end up, though? I mean, are you going to end up living in Los Angeles alongside Rod Stewart?
No way.
I mean, how's it going to end up, though? How do you see Sham 69
What it ends up is, as soon as I'm not happy anymore about what I'm doing, then I just jack it in.
Yeah, but they all say that, though, don't they, Jim?
Do they all say that?
Well, of course they do.
I don't know that about it, John. I mean, I'm only speaking about myself.
No, I know, but I mean, how do you really think? I mean, if you go on being as successful as you are now...
The point is like this. The punk was dying until Sham 69 came along. Sham 69 came along and give life to punk. We give life to a lot of kids, right? We said to them, right, punk is not dead. Everybody was saying punk is dead, it's in the graveyard, they've got one foot in the grave. We said, no, it's not got one foot in the grave. You've only got to look now. You've got Jilted John on top of the Pops. Yeah. You've got Susie and the Banshees being played on Radio 1. You've got the Lurkers on top of the Pops. They're all being given a chance now. Whereas if Sham 69 hadn't said, right, we want to go on top of the Pops to prove that you're not going to sweep us under the carpet, you're not going to destroy us, it's far better going on top of the Pops. And an old lady saying, oh, what's that? You know, they go like, you know, get him off, you're not watching him. And the little kids say, yeah, I want to watch him. You know, don't you switch it off. Then go on and say a programme like Revolver, stuck at 11:15 at night. So you go on top of the Pops and there's kids from 10, right, to 15 that can't get in the gigs can see it. But 11:15 on Revolver, they're not going to be able to see you. Because their mums are going to say, come on, son, off to bed. Bedtime now. You know, or they're down the discotheques.
Connection somewhere. If a band want to change a lot and keep changing their music and doing different things, I think it's a bad thing actually if you start getting on playlists and offered top of the Pops and that. Yeah. I'd sort of turn it down. Well, I hope I would anyway. I hope I wouldn't get drawn into that.
Where do you see, I mean, not just alternative television, but the bands that you still have faith in and the bands that you record? I mean, what would you like them to be doing in a couple of years' time?
I'd like them to be still independent and independently be able to put out albums quite easily. That's, I mean, see, I can't speak for all of the bands because, I mean, what has happened to a few of our bands, like Sham 69, when we first met them, they were nothing, you know, we put out a record, Polydor interested, and now they're on Polydor. I mean, individual bands do want to go and be signed up. I always advise against it. I always say, oh, no, lads, you know, stick with us. I felt quite lost when the Clash signed to CBS because I thought, surely, especially when I started doing it myself, a step forward, like with help, obviously financial help. I thought surely if I could have done it, the Clash could have done it, you know.
On the other hand, of course, you could say that the bands who signed to the big record companies are now getting more attention and getting more money as well. I mean, I realise they're getting...
Yeah, possibly, yeah, but I'm always surprised. I mean, I saw a Buzzcocks news story the other day in Sounds, and it says the Buzzcocks are trying their best to keep the ticket prices to a minimum of £2.50.
Yeah.
And that to me is outrageous. I mean, we've done like a month of gigs for nothing, and if we can do it, like ATV, like we haven't been signed up with no big money. If we can do it, they can. It just, I mean, £2.50, you know, that's nothing to do with punk to me, you know.
First of all, why haven't the Slits made any records yet?
We haven't felt ready to make any records yet.
When will you feel ready to make records?
We're negotiating now.
I mean, what...
Now!
Well, I mean, what aspect of what you do you feel is not ready? Think the songs aren't good enough?
Technically.
Yeah?
The songs are okay, yeah.
Is that very important to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can imagine them, but the people can't.
We know what we're supposed to sound like, but it's we don't want to listen to horrible records. We make records. We want to make a record that sounds great. You know, that we think a record should sound like, which isn't like loads of mistakes and.
Well, I mean, are you looking for a lot of money then, or would you sign with a small record company with people who couldn't afford to give you a big advance?
Don't know.
It's not only the money what matters. I mean, we're trying to get as much as possible. But it's not only the money.
All round as much as possible. Money, freedom. You know, we want to like the record company.
Everything.
We don't want to be against the record company. It'd be great if we get on okay. I don't know if that's naive. But
I mean, so you don't feel...
we like the atmosphere of, you know...
You don't feel any kind of... that's very good. You don't feel any kind... you don't feel any kind of, as it were, political commitment to the small independent labels?
No.
No.
You don't? No. Okay. Oh, I see. Have you been approached by any major record companies, or people, or any record companies?
Right from the beginning we were approached, you know, like when we all used to stay around Harry's house, and they'd be phoning up all the time for novelty type of records, one-off records. They wanted to record us, one company wanted to record us in one evening and get the LP out really quickly.
Who was that?
That was Ireland.
I like Ireland.
We liked Ireland, but we didn't like that idea. You know, all that kind of thing was offered to us in the beginning.
Well, what do you mean, all that kind of thing?
Well, that all kind of novelty approach. You know, you on the front of the record dressed in sort of very sophisticated dresses, all that kind of thing.
Sang the wrong words.
Don't matter.
Did you go around all the major record companies?
We went round to the only major we thought was any good was United Artists, because, you know, they had the Buzzcocks, who we sort of think are pretty good, and they sort of showed a bit of interest at first, and then they said, well, we're just not commercial enough. So that was that. So we had a list of small, like, independents, and we just sort of went down the list, phoned up the first one we phoned up, and they said, yeah, UK subs, so that was it, you know. Yeah. We didn't bother about any others, and they gave us a really good deal. 40%.
And complete artistic control.
Right, yeah,
Well,
and that's the main thing, yeah.
What are the disadvantages of being on a small label?
We're going to remain poor for another 2 years, maybe. But, I mean, you know, we don't care. We're in it for the art, aren't we?
But to what extent poor? I mean, how difficult is life going to be for you?
We won't know until they start selling. It depends on how many they sell, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're not going to be like, you know, sort of a lot of other bands. They're going to get a record out, and they've got management and everything that's going to buy them lots of nice equipment, and they're going to go up and down the country, and they're going to go out for, you know, maybe only a couple of £100, and they're going to have all this gear, and it's going to cost them about £500 to do a gig.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do this. We went down to Brighton the other day. We done a gig for £14 and we lost £2.
Yes.
So
but again, this is dictated by circumstances.
Well, yeah, but we're going to keep it that way. We're not going to get all this arty-farty, you know, loads of gear and that. We're just going to carry on as we are.